All right, well, thank you everybody for joining me here today. This will be a quick one. We fundamentally believe here at Hyper that people learn by either seeing, hearing, or doing. And so this is an opportunity for you to hear me speak about something that's really exciting, something that the Hyper team has been working on for several months now, which is our State of Pastoralist Identity Assurance Report. So today we are unveiling our 2025 edition. It is our 5th edition of this report, and I'm very excited to share some of the information in this report with you and some of my personal insights and why I think some of the information in this report itself is so compelling. So without further ado, we interviewed about 750 IT security decision makers for this report. So that's a lot of people, and lots of long hours and a tireless effort by the Hyper team and our partners to make sure that we are able to talk to this many people. I think this is the most we've ever spoken to. Previous reports were in the 500 range. So one of the most exciting things about this is that even though we interviewed IT security decision makers, it was kind of shocking to me, at least, to see just how little understanding many of these individuals, many people in the industry in general, have when it comes to identity and security. As we know from our own research, identity typically only reports into cybersecurity about half of the time, and some of the stats here are pretty indicative of that fact. So first of all, we asked a bunch of people, 750 of them, hey, if you're using a biometric such as Windows Hello on your computer, but you still allow a password as a fallback, is that phishing resistant? And 60% of them almost said yes, it is. And so there is a clear misunderstanding of what's secure and what isn't, even within our own community. And many people think that one-time codes from tokens in particular, like the old school tokens that have the rotating codes every 60 seconds or whatever, I won't mention any company names, they are themselves phishing resistant, which we know that they're not, because malicious phishing sites or social engineering calls can convince people very easily to type in those rotating codes in real time. And the shocking one for me, or most shocking one for me, was really only 40% of respondents actually think that passkeys are phishing resistant, which is crazy to me because passkeys were designed from the ground up to be phishing resistant and to solve many of the authentication related issues that organizations and consumers face today. So those are some of the surprising facts from this report to me, but there's also a bunch of other cool information here. Of the 750 people we spoke to, about half of them actually had a breach last year, and 87% of those were due to identity-related vulnerabilities. So not a shocker. I think even the Verizon data breach reports typically cite 80+%. And these incidents tend to cost a lot of money, even when they're just compromising a few accounts. They cost millions of dollars per incident, and they cost even more than that when it comes to all the efforts to investigate them. And then there's the long tail costs, right, when it comes to data loss or loss of intellectual property as well. About 40% of the respondents actually had a generative AI related security incident in the last year. So this is really hackers using generative AI to get into organizations. So also, this was not entirely surprising, although I think 40% is very high given that ChatGPT just came out a couple of years ago. And about 95% of them have actually seen a deepfake attack within their environment, which is really interesting. And we see this a lot now where almost every organization that we talk to have had an incident where somebody is posing as someone else, either via video or over voice or through a written communication channel such as LinkedIn or email. And really, the vast majority of IT decision makers really see generative AI capabilities that hackers have as a major concern to their business. A really encouraging thing that I've seen is about 46% of organizations are utilizing passwordless or FIDO authentication methods. At least they think they are. The one caveat I would put here is, even though many of them are utilizing things like passkeys or FIDO-based authentication in some way, shape, or form, almost every single time they still allow the legacy methods, such as a password or an OTP, to be used as a fallback. And if you're only as strong as your weakest link, that's not the way to go. So where we really need to get to as an industry is to this point where a phishing resistant method of authentication is the baseline and the weakest way a user can get in across all of our applications and environments. And many organizations have deployed or are deploying passkeys in some way, shape, or form. So this is really awesome because passwordless phishing resistant methods are scheduled to dominate and be the primary way of accessing applications and resources by 2027, which is really encouraging, especially for those of us who have been involved with the FIDO standards and passkeys for over a decade now. One of the last things I'll discuss with you here today is 63% of organizations or respondents have modified their identity verification process. And so this doesn't necessarily mean that they deployed new technologies, but they have made modifications to the tools that they use to verify people whenever they do credential resets or when they're hiring them, or anytime they need a higher level of assurance to verify an identity or issue a credential. And so what we've seen many organizations do, really, unfortunately, is implement methods that are very manual in nature and difficult to audit. So for example, we've seen companies, when somebody's trying to reset a password or an MFA, for example, they'll require them to get on a Zoom call with another employee or the help desk and kind of show their driver's license up to the screen. And we've seen that this is not nearly as secure as companies think they are. And they just kind of hope that people are actually doing this appropriately and following all the steps, because they really have no way to audit the entire transaction. And about 68% of organizations actually said after a identity-related breach, identity verification is the top choice for a more secure, robust method to technology to implement or process to implement in the wake of a identity-related incident. So, which is good, and that tells us that this concept of strong identity verification, not purely relying on knowledge-based questions such as the street you grew up on or the car you drove in 2004. It tells us that those are not very secure ways of verifying identities, and organizations are having to move to stronger verifications that verify a user's device, their location, their documents, and even having another person that they work with vouch for them, being a very powerful mechanism to ensure security when issuing credentials or giving sensitive access. So that's really it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you find this report useful. You can check it out at hyper.com/report. And I hope you get some value from it. And if you have any feedback for us here at Hyper or want to learn more, please reach out to us and contact us anytime. Thank you.